Something we've learned working with patients is that we need a reason to sustain our behaviours, a goal. And sometimes it's a bigger reason to stick with a goal than just weight loss or type 2 diabetes reversal. So often we ask people, what else do you want to do? Or what else could you do if your health was better? 47-year-old Sandy Silk from Gloucester had tried to lose weight many times and had attempted many types of weight loss plan, always finding that life got in the way. Last year, she was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and her doctors wanted to start her on medication for the condition. Sandy refused, instead choosing to take measures to improve her condition herself. She decided to follow an 800-calorie shakes diet which she had seen in the news. This year, Fixing Us partnered with Nestlé Health Science to create a 3-part series following Sandy's 12-week journey using an 800-calorie total dietary replacement. In this session, we'll be talking to Sandy about the challenges on her journey so far and also about her bigger goals for the future. We'll also be speaking to Jemma Durbridge, Senior Brand Manager at Nestlé Health Science, about why they wanted to support this project and how an 800-calorie total dietary replacement can make goal setting easier and more manageable for some patients.
I phoned up to get the results and was told quite casually over the phone, "Oh yes, you have diabetes." Didn't really quite know what to say or what to do. You're sort of left to your own devices, really. Guilty and ashamed, humiliated, and as if you've got something that you could have prevented and done something about it. It's the general embarrassment and stigma. Nobody really likes to talk about it. I feel that I was quite young when I was diagnosed. I think that's partially a genetic thing. I want to prevent the idea of complications, to do something to just reverse it really. I know that it can be reversed. My family would be delighted if I could get to a diabetes-free point. I'm not sure they believe at the moment that I could do that, but I think they would be delighted. Yeah, that'd be amazing. Do you want to come and take part in this? Ant, do you want to take part in this? No. I work for a local green energy company. I've been there for 7.5 years. You'll have a portal to log in to book the appointments. The biggest obstacle to good health is a lack of time. If I had more time, I could invest that time in focusing on good health. I'm really looking forward to it. I really am. At the beginning, I'm just going to see how the next 7 days goes. My last HbA1c was 62 and I need to get that under 46. Yeah, looking forward to the results. I think it's good that you have this entire replacement so you haven't got to worry about preparing stuff for yourself. The dietitian was saying, you know, if you get really hungry when you're in work, have sort of half of one in the morning, then have your lunch and then have maybe the other half, but that counts as a meal to be counted within the 4 throughout the day. Somebody's birthday today, so this is birthday treats in the office. In my head, I can't have like a glass of wine or anything nice like that till November, which seems like a long way away. But if I can reach November and say that I haven't got type 2 anymore, then that will be the best outcome. It's been a long week. Heading home, I have some concerns about what my guys are going to think and do about this new plan that I'm on, whether they'll take it seriously. Not such a pretty picture today. Feeling tired, hungry, annoyed. One of those days where when I came in, everybody was asking me what feels like really ridiculous questions. Away in tonight, 14 stone 4. When you get home and people, you know, going on about pizzas and this and that. Yeah, not very good. I had to message the coach this afternoon because I was on the verge of cracking. I like the fact that I can get support from Karen at Oviva, the dietitian, because you can ask all kinds of questions. Day 12, I need to pop into our surgery and give the doctors the sort of list of blood pressure readings that I've been taking, but now I've got this app. They are handily on there. We're involved in lots of things in the local area too. I'm heavily involved in our local rugby club, which is Stride Rugby. I think it first started when I was asked to help in the kitchen one Sunday. You know, Aidan had come here for a bit of a tryout. People that I know, some of my friends, particularly those at the rugby club, are giving me a lot of support with this, and that's really appreciated.
Who just left.
Rugby's it's a whole family thing, and we call it rugby family, don't we? And this sort of applies to friends we know at other rugby clubs as well. So the first couple of weeks were, well, a challenge. It's really convenient in that you have these shakes that you just, you know, there's no sort of querying what you're going to have. This is my dedicated cup to the new plan. Saturday morning, day 16. Just having this vanilla shake this morning. Adding this week's weight loss onto my Insta. I find it quite helpful when people are giving me encouraging comments. Yesterday was weigh day. I had another £3 gone, so £8. Having attempted to lose weight before, never quite got to losing a whole entire stone, so that was a massive breakthrough moment for me. Very happy.
To reverse this is our main goal, main aim, and hopefully for
A healthier future.
a healthier future. Aw.
Stop.
It's been a real privilege to work with Sandy and her family for the past 3 months or so. And as always, we've seen a real journey, which has been the rough as well as the smooth. And in this session, we're going to talk about how and why we should set goals with type 2 diabetes to not only manage, but also improve the condition. So we're going to look at how a short-term, low-calorie plan can be a big part of this and actually make this more achievable and goal setting more manageable. So it's a real pleasure, Sandy, to introduce you in person today and just to hear a little bit more from you in terms of the 3 goals that you set in the process. So reducing the weight, reducing your blood glucose, and even climbing a mountain as well. So what was it? Just we've got a lot of healthcare professionals that will be watching today. What was it that made you want to improve rather than just manage the condition?
I didn't want to take the medication, and I knew that it was possible to do something about it without the medication. Admittedly, the online sort of suggestion to apply was, you know, obviously at the right time. But yeah, I definitely didn't want to go down that road of meds at all.
And I think one of the things that you said had sort of prevented you in the past was the time factor. So you're very busy, obviously, in your everyday life. Do you want to just tell us a bit about, you know, your life? And obviously we've seen a bit on the film there, but what was it that sort of prevented you from setting those big goals?
I think perhaps time just sort of escapes you, doesn't it? You don't really realise how many years go by. And then when I sort of sat and realised I'd actually had this condition for nearly 6 years now and not really done anything much about it, perhaps had sort of little and vague attempts, you know, different diets and things, but it wasn't really anything proper. And I think it's about having the support and guidance of people that know what they're talking about, because lots of people will say, oh, you know, try this, try that, try the other, and you know, you can try these things half-heartedly. But I needed something a bit more commitment. I guess maybe my kids are a bit older now and perhaps don't need me around quite as much as they did when they were younger. So I guess that was, part of the spurring motion.
Because that's a big factor in your life, isn't it? You've got family around you. Obviously, they're used to you cooking for them, and then you generally sort of sit down and join them for the meals. So, how much of a challenge has that been, and how has this program sort of helped you to overcome that?
Well, things are a bit different now. Apart from tonight, I did get offered pasta again, but there we are. We yeah, things are a bit different. I think we've all looked towards a lot more of the sort of low carb options that suit everybody. That's really important for this house, is that whatever we make has to really suit everybody. Because we're not really in for making four different things to suit four different people. I can't obviously expect them to go without their carbs all the time, but as much as possible, we've tried to sort of mix it that I can have the low carby bits. Now that we're back on transition on onto food,
Yeah, I was
and
going to say. So just going back a bit, because obviously people will have seen the first film where you're still obviously just starting out, really, or the first 4 or 5 weeks on the diet, so on the total diet replacement. So what how have you sort of managed to mix that in with your life? So having a total diet replacement while everybody else is eating normal food.
Um, well, you've probably seen from the films, the first few weeks were a bit higgledy-piggledy. It's very convenient because you've got these sachets and that's it. So, you have your four sachets and that's it. Um, the first couple of weeks here, when everybody was still wanting to have all the things that we would usually have, I find really difficult. But there are support groups on social channels, and I joined one of those. And even though a lot of these people seem to be in different parts of the world, the idea is still the same. It's all still the Optifast products, and yeah, that was really really helpful. And drinking masses of water.
So obviously, in that, just a bit on the results so far. I mean, obviously, from what you've said, you've halved. You're halfway on your HbA1c to normal from where you were.
Yeah, that's right. So in the summer it was 80. Well, my doctor says it was 85, but on my little fixing Sandy board here it says 83. But either way, 83, 85 was like way way too high.
And obviously you're aiming now to sort of spur on from here. Is that's the goal over
Yeah,
over the new year? And
I want to get down to sort of like below 40 if I can. That's where we're heading. I've kind of like had enough of my relationship with my doctor. My relationship with my doctor is perhaps broken down a little bit, and yeah,
well, it's interesting that you say that, because I mean, it's been a bit of a theme today, because lots of people have had issues with the way they communicate with their doctor. And what in your experience, what's been the problem there? Is it communication? Is it the way, or is it just do you feel unsupported? What is it with that?
I think they're just interested in medicating, and if you've got a problem, it's sort of medicate. And I'll say to him, well, I'm doing this. So when I told him I was doing this very low calorie diet, he said, oh, what is that, very low carb? And I said, no, very low calorie. And he said, oh no, you must mean low carb. And I was like, well, no, I mean low calorie, and what I've said. But it's just been quite difficult, I guess, with lockdown as well. So we've been having telephone conversations, so not even Skype or seeing each other. I think I've perhaps pestered him quite a little bit over these last 12 weeks about blood pressure going up and down and this, that, and the other. And because we're like a really small little local town, I actually sort of see him in Sainsbury's and stuff, and it's a bit weird. But yeah, he's just fixated on medicating.
It's interesting because we were talking to Professor Roy Taylor in an earlier session about this problem, that sometimes patients, the power isn't really in the patient's hands. So if the doctor does say to them, well, just get on with, just lose weight, and they don't necessarily give you anything practical or anything to follow, then it can be quite restrictive. You can't really take control yourself. But you've pretty much done that, haven't you? So I mean, you must feel like you've taken control in a way that if without this plan, you probably wouldn't have necessarily.
Yeah, I don't think I
done
would
it in that
have
way.
got this far without that plan. At the beginning of the year, so it was, I'm not sure if it was January or February, he said to me that I've wasted 6 years and that I have to start taking this medication because I'm going to get complications. He's a little bit alarmist, my doctor. He's a bit sort of like, if you don't take these tablets, you're going to have your leg cut off. And, I'm sort of like, all right, thanks. And a couple of other things he said, it's almost quite negative. He'll sort of say, if you don't sort yourself out, you're going to have a stroke. And I'm not really sure that's the most encouraging thing to say to somebody who's just lost 1.5 stone and is quite pleased with that. So yeah, we have, like I say, I think our relationship's breaking down a little bit.
And this is it. This is what I mean. The overarching theme of our track is around patient engagement. It's about actually, how do you engage people in their health and then keep them engaged in their health, longer term. And it's very easy to lose people, I think, just giving too much fear or the other extreme is that you see these kind of really good news stories on Instagram and things, but people don't necessarily identify with it because they don't see the struggles. Whereas I think in your journey, the good thing about this is that we're sort of going to be showing everything you've been through and the struggles as well as the high points. And yes, you've achieved massive things there, but it's been a journey. It's
been a challenge and still a way to go. I think I spoke to him again about a different problem a few weeks ago, and I could kind of hear in his voice the huffing and puffing. He's like, "What does she want now?" And I just sort of, it's not really my fault that the surgery is still refusing to see people. You can see nurses, but you can't see your GP even still now. And then I obviously had this other sort of scare with this endometrial polyp, and I tried to speak to him about that. And he's just like, just get off my phone, Mrs. Silk. Do you know what I mean? Just do one. Well, that's how it comes across. And I'm sure he doesn't mean it like that, but that's how it feels.
Yeah, it's been this sort of extra weird time, hasn't it, with the pandemic, and it's been a bit of a difficult time in that respect as well. But it's probably a good place to bring Jemma in. So, in terms of it's interesting. Obviously, goal setting is not necessarily an easy thing when you've got a condition like type 2 diabetes. But why is it, Jemma, that Nestlé Health Science wanted to support this project and get behind it?
I think it's really everything that Sandy has said is so inspirational, isn't it? In the way that people can take back control almost of their health through nutrition, rather than having to resort to medication, like Sandy was saying, which is a lot of the time people's biggest fear. They don't want to have to rely on that for the rest of their lives. And we've seen it happen so many times, people gaining control of their health, losing a lot of weight. So we just wanted to share those sorts of stories, really. And when you watch Sandy's story, it's just amazing to see how someone can almost turn themselves around. And we wanted to share that because I think a lot of people, and I think you said it, Anthony, a lot of people don't think it's possible, and they can't relate to it because you see all these crazy things in media and online, and you think, oh, I'm never going to get to that point, it's too far away for me now. But actually what Sandy's shown is it's hard, yeah, it's challenging, but actually it's doable. And so we just were really keen to share that, really.
And how do you think this kind of the TDR, we call it the total dietary replacement, do you think that can ease the burden for patients and actually make that goal setting a bit easier, at least for that short period?
I mean, it's certainly showing that way, to be honest, with the trials and the pilots and the studies that we've been involved in. I think the way that TDRs work and products like Optifast, the reason they work and are successful is because it does take away that choice and it makes the whole thing manageable. So you don't have to think about food as much. Like you'd wake up in the morning, or what can I eat? What's healthy? What can I have for breakfast, or what can I have for lunch that I know is good for me? And it's really hard because you're constantly focusing on food. And what a TDR does is it takes away that choice, really. So you've got certain flavors, you've got certain formats you can choose, and that's the only choice you need to make. And then the rest of your time can be thinking about the other parts of your life and your water intake and things like that, rather than being totally consumed by what you can and can't eat.
Sure, yeah. So, I mean, you mentioned the trial projects there. So, what are the kind of trials that you're doing? Is this with the NHS? in the UK?
So we've done we've done a few different studies with different areas, but one of the things we're working on at the moment is the exciting NHS England pilot that they've just launched. So it launched in September, and it's basically taking the same program that Sandy's been on, with the same support mechanism, but they're offering it across the country to 5,000 patients, people with obesity and type 2 diabetes. And it's just looking at how this program can work across a multitude of different people using different support mechanisms. And Optifast has been chosen as one of the preferred products within that pilot. So it's going to be going on for about 2 years. We've already started seeing people enroll on the program, and we're really excited to see kind of how that comes out really, and what that looks like. Lots of Sandys out there, I think.
Brilliant. It was interesting because Roy was showing us a diagram earlier for people once they're in remission, or they've improved their blood sugars, just the differences that happen to the pancreas. You actually see like the actual graph, as they start to lose the weight, just how it improves the pancreas is unbelievable. Inside the body, it has huge impacts. So no, all right. Now, so in terms of your it's brilliant, obviously, Sandy, the journey you've been on. Now, in terms of longer term, I know you're talking about sort of, this is an ongoing project for you now, isn't it? So you're going to be sort of monitoring your blood sugars more closely, really looking at keeping things in the right direction now.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think realistic targets. So particularly as this year has been a bit of a challenging year for everybody, and you have to try and remember to be kind to yourself. So when there have been occasions pop up, like it was my husband's birthday and we weren't locked down, so we could go out for dinner, of course I was going to take that opportunity. But it's about being a lot more mindful now. So in my head, I'm sort of thinking, February, March, if I can be down to sort of 42 or below by that time, although we did also speak about this thing and maybe doing it in 6 weeks' time. I think I'll have my actual surgery check on the 18th of December, so that'll be interesting to see what that looks like then.
I mean, something that I think should bring up here, because I was talking to another doctor earlier today, Michael Baslington, and he said something he's quite passionate about is that if a patient comes to you and says, do you mind if I have an HbA1c on 3 months because I've been making some efforts with my diet, rather than 6 months, as it usually be 6 months, he doesn't see any reason why anyone would not do that. If you've got if a doctor's got an engaged patient, someone that is interested in their own blood sugars and wants to see what's happening, then you really, as long as you're not doing them every week, obviously, but to give someone that opportunity to really, to add to their project, you really should do it.
No, I think our surgery, had we not been in this weird COVID situation, it would have been fine.
Sure,
but they just weren't interested. They were just like, yeah, December, you have to come back then. And I said, well, I've been doing this, really intensive diet, and I really would like to get a test. And they were just sort of like, no, no. But normally our surgery are pretty helpful. And the nurse who I think took this test for me to give me the high result in the summer, I think she would have certainly been quite open to me doing that. But I can't really sort of start marching in and giving their sort of instructions when they are having this ridiculously difficult time and they want everything to be done online. So they made me sign up to do everything online, and then I went in to book the blood test. They were like, oh no, we've taken that facility away, you can't do that. So I was like, lots of wasted time. But now I realise that you can get these things from that company where I got mine from last week. I now realise it's pretty straightforward to just sort of order your own, which is, again, I think it's a bit of taking control. I'm not sure how seriously people take diabetes type 2 within these surgeries, apart from giving you the standard, twice a year, this and that, and rub your feet to see if you can feel anything. I don't think, I think you have to take control.
Sure, and alongside obviously the blood sugar and the weight goals, and you obviously have started walking a lot more as well. So I know in
Yeah.
your next film we're going to see a bit more of that. But just tell us a bit about that and how it's sort of how the other ladies have helped you with that as well.
You'd find it hilarious, to be honest. So for somebody like me to sort of start announcing they want to go at Penny Fan actually made quite a lot of people really laugh a lot. So when we did this sort of practice walk, and then I realised that I was nowhere near fit enough to get a Penny Fan yet, but we went off on this huge walk, sort of uphill, down dale. You know, for me, that was quite a long old walk. Luckily, we had someone in the group that knew what they were doing, so we had a proper route sorted out. But I attempted another walk last weekend, but you can only do this with one other person now. So me and my friend Nikki, we headed off up over these hills, no idea where we were going, even though we live here. We got very lost. We were trying to get to this viewpoint that we know is really high. We didn't quite get to it. We're not sure where we were. We saw some lovely things, but we still to this day aren't exactly sure where we went. But we know our Fitbits told us we did 8 miles. So that was that.
That's the main thing. You did 8 miles. You just don't
Yeah,
know where.
it's really good fun in a group. But now this sort of lockdown 1+1, but hopefully after
Yeah.
December the 2nd, things will be a bit more normal again. Yeah. I've got Friday off and I'm planning to go on another venture somewhere, but I think I'm going to download OS Maps so we know where we are.
That's right. Brilliant. So I suppose, Jemma, you probably don't get to see the patient journey this close up as you've been able to this time with the films. How has it sort of been, and how's it impacted you just watching that through?
It's been really good actually. It's been an eye opener. So we get told a lot of information from patients and from people going on these programs, and you get the odd anecdotal story about, oh, this happened, but actually to watch Sandy's story has just been great, and it's given us that extra level of information. So when we are talking about the product and looking at how the product can help people in different situations, it we can then build those benefits into that. So, watching Sandy going to work and having to prepare the shakes there, and looking at, in your kitchen and in your office, and how you're doing it there, and it's just quite interesting to see them in real life. I know it sounds a bit strange, but being used properly, and it just makes you think about it differently and brings it all to life.
Yeah, and this is it.
Good.
And I think for patients as well, Sandy, you sort of can't underestimate what an inspiration this could be for people, because it's, you don't see many of these journeys sort of firsthand with all the obstacles and the barriers in there. So I think, it's really looking like it could be really inspirational. We had really good feedback from the people that have seen it so far, and hopefully we'll get a lot more this going out today as well. So you should be very proud of yourself in terms of what you've achieved already.
Doing this diet has really demonstrated to me how much our whole lives revolved around eating and drinking and socializing, because I think I've mentioned this a couple of times. I've been so sort of bored. I'm like, right, what do I do now then? So I've been doing really weird things like jigsaws, because I don't know what else to do. And it just has shown us how much of our lives were all about meeting up with friends, going for lunch, going for dinner, eating this, eating that, cooking, having people round, all of that. And of course, none of that's been happening for the last 12 weeks. So, yeah, that's been,
Mm.
we realise now just how sociable we were. But the convenience factor of, this measured item is, which if it's a bar, you can cut it in half, have some of it then, have some of it later. Just sorts it for you, doesn't it? So you don't have to, yeah. But yeah, flavour wise, yeah, fine.
Yeah, it takes the worry away, doesn't it? And the convenience.
Mm.
I really liked actually in the first film where you were cutting the bar up and saying, oh, I'm going to have a bit now, and then I'm going to have a bit later. And I think it's tips and tricks like that other people would really benefit from, because it
Mm.
can be quite daunting and think, oh, I've got to eat this then, and I've got to eat that there. But it is flexible still. It's not
Mm.
as rigid as you can make it very rigid, but also you can flex it as much as you want. I think that often helps people with their goals as well.
Mm. and just find something to do. Like, I was sort of flapping around after 2 or 3 weeks going, what shall I do? What shall I do? I've got nothing to do. All I can do is sit here and drink water. What am I going to do? I think before you start taking the shakes, make a plan of things to do, like put some films down that you want to watch, or depending what time of year it is, plan to go out and about. Obviously we did go out quite a bit in the summer, but as lockdowns got worse, yeah, but definitely make a plan of things you want to get done, or use your time, so you're not completely just sort of sat there going, oh my god, I'm really hungry and all I can do is drink water. Yeah, making a plan for other things outside of the food.
That's a really good idea, actually. I think the movie thing, that's really a really good idea.
Box sets,
Yeah,
Netflix, all of that. Write it down what you want to do, and do it.
Yeah, that's
brilliant.
good.
No, it's really good. Thanks so much, Sandy, and thank you, Jemma, for your time. It's been brilliant, and I think obviously a lot of healthcare professionals watching. So, if there was one message you'd want them to take away, what would that be, Sandy, to a healthcare professional?
Give your patients a chance to express themselves, and encourage them to take control. Yeah, that's what I would say. Yeah.
Brilliant. That's a great note to leave it on. Thanks very much. Thanks so much for your time.